رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم وفقنا إلى ما تحب وترضاه وأعط لكل عبد منا من الخير ما نواه وصل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد ومن والاه. My dear brothers and sisters, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our good deeds, our salah, our siyam, our qiyam, and even our itikaf for those they intended to make itikaf. And in this short talk, we are going to address and highlight the important point related to itikaf, and then we'll open the floor for your questions. The word itikaf in Arabic comes from عكف على شيء لزمه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that word in multiple places in the Quran. When the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam said, ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون. He was questioning them about the idols that they hold on it. And in another place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Ibrahim by saying, وَطَهِّرْ بَيْتِيَ لِلطَّائِفِينَ وَالْعَاكِفِينَ وَالرُّكَّعِ السُّجُودِ. You should purify my house and make it accessible for طائفين عاكفين والركع السجود. So from the language, like the linguistic aspect, mean that you stay attached to something or to hold yourself on something. But what i'tikaf means as a term in fiqh, the definition is لزوم المسجد من أجل العبادة بصورة مخصوصة بصفات مخصوصة. So to stay in a mosque with the intention of doing ibadah in a certain way. So it has to be in a mosque. And which mosque? The mosque where the 5 daily prayers and Jum'ah performs. Because you don't have to leave that place. Some they limit it to the 3 mosques, Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Nabawi, and Masjid al-Aqsa. However, there's no evidence for that. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَأَنْتُمْ عَاكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ. And He mentioned a plural form, so it can be performed in any mosque. Even for the sisters, yes, there's no evidence that has to be in her room or her house. Has to be in a mosque if there is kind of accommodation that was made for her protection and her security and her peace. So staying in a mosque with minimum of day and night, as the majority of scholars indicate. Some scholars, they said even less than that, that will be fine. However, again, there's no strong evidence about this. The practice of the Prophet ﷺ and the practice of the scholars after, that's indicate that minimum it's a 24 hours, that minimum, so day and night. And you start before the sunset and ended by the sunset. That's the 24 hours. Some, they said it's fine to start after the sunset. There's weak opinion that you start at Fajr, and that misinterpretation for the hadith that narrated by Sayyidah Aisha, that Rasulullah prayed Fajr and he entered his mu'takaf. It doesn't mean that he started his itikaf, but it means that one of the habit of Rasulullah, after he will pray, he will go in a certain place in the mosque, that's his mu'takaf. So we said itikaf in the mosque, however, it's preferable to be even in a certain spot in a mosque. To not limit your movement. It's not here and there. And the Prophet used to make kind of like tent inside the mosque or something like that, just to limit himself on that spot. And if you go to Medina and you pray in the Rawda, there is one istiwana, it's one pillar, they called itikaf, istiwana, itikaf pillar. That's the place when the Rasul he used to make his itikaf. And there's another one called istiwana sarir, when usually the bed of the Rasul is there. So he's not here and there, like in a certain place in the mosque. Now somebody stayed in a mosque 24 hours with no intention, it doesn't count as itikaf. He still be rewarded being in a mosque, but it's not the reward of itikaf. Now somebody would tell me, what is the reward of itikaf? There is no specific reward, which means it's high reward. When in any action the reward was not mentioned, that means it's unlimited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا يُوَفَّى الصَّابِرُونَ أَجْرَهُمْ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. Indeed, those are patient, they will be rewarded with no limit. So when there is no limit, that means it's no limit. That's something, it cannot be limited beyond your way of thinking. So it's a great, great reward for that. So لزوم المسجد على وجه العبادة بوجه مخصوص ونية مخصوصة. Now, if somebody rejected his intention, then he ended his itikaf. But if somebody said, you know what, if that happened to me, he was expecting something to come, then inshallah, or if God wills, I will end my itikaf. That does not actually end his itikaf, because he attached it to the Mashiach and he made like an if statement, and it was not firm that he will end his itikaf. So the intention has to be always there while you are making your itikaf. There are things that it's permissible for you to leave the place out of necessity. When somebody, for example, had janaba with dream, and there's no place to take a shower, and he has to, then it's fine, because that's out of necessity. Somebody, there's no person to serve him to bring food, and he need to eat, and he went just for that, that's out of necessity and will be fine. As long as that the only option, when there's no other option, will be fine. But if there's other options, you cannot leave the place. Can I leave for janazah? No, you cannot. As long as somebody is taking care of the janazah, do not leave, the place for janazah. So that should be clear. As I mentioned, look at that. Is that out of necessity or no other option? Then it's fine. But if there's other options, then it's not allowed, because you are already in ibadah. Somebody say, you know what, I want to do other ibadah. But that's another ibadah. You already started the ibadah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تُبْتِلُوا أَعْمَالَكُمْ. Do not invalidate your ibadah, your actions, your good deed. So you already started your deed, so you should, try to complete as much as you can. Is it must to perform itikaf? No. It's highly recommended, but it's not must. It's a sunnah. Unless you made it mandatory for yourself. How? You make nadhr. That by Allah, I'm going to do this and stay in the mosque for a certain time. Then you have to. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu made a promise in the old times of Jahiliyyah that he will make another for one night. The Prophet ﷺ advised him to fulfill his promise. So if you made a promise, then you have to. And otherwise, no, it's just, recommended. And it's recommended more in Ramadan and more in the last 10 days of Ramadan, as the Prophet ﷺ used to do. He did the first 10 days of Ramadan, and then he moved to the middle 10 days of Ramadan, and then he did his itikaf for all following years in the last 10 days of Ramadan. And one of the reasons he was seeking Laylatul Qadr. And if the Prophet seeking Laylatul Qadr, the one Allah will forgive all his sins if he committed sin, how about us? So it's really a great ibadah that you are performing. It might be difficult for those that are performing the first time, but I'm sure you will enjoy it. You will feel the happiness that you achieve something, and Allah enable you to perform maybe something that you do it for the first time. And most of those, they did it for the first time, they're waiting for Ramadan for do it another time. And may Allah accept from all of you. Now, what we should do and what should not during itikaf. There are 4 things I will say to you. You try to limit those activities. So you should have less walk, less talk, less sleep, less eat. Less walk. So if you can just be in your spot of itikaf, limit yourself just to masjid, not even in the surrounding area, that you should do. Less talk. Do not socialize much. And part of the socializing, that you've been in your phone. It's fine that as our mother Safiya came to Rasulullah and she spent an hour with him. She spent time with him to talk, and then Rasulullah walked her outside. And from time to time, even our mother Aisha will come even to fix the hair of the Rasulullah, to rajjulu shara. So it is like fine to the limit. So do not really spend time talking and socializing. So less talk. Less sleep. Because you don't want to miss the opportunity of doing more ibadah. And I will advise you that the best time to sleep, that after praying the sunnah, after the sunset, until Dhuhr prayer, there's a quiet time, and it's maybe a good time for your time to sleep. So it's better to switch in these days, be awake at night and sleeping maybe during the day in that period of time. Do not miss the time after Asr and before Maghrib. Do not miss the time, after Fajr and before the sunrise. So those really important times, for you to make dua. And let's eat, because you're not here for picnic or vacation, and you don't want to be going more often to washroom and waste your time, and spending more time for that. It's you eat like normal, because sometimes when you eat more, you'll be a little bit heavy and there's not much concentration, and then your body needs more sleep. SubhanAllah, like our brain will function, will put a lot of energy to digest, the food. And that actually make, the brain in a slow mood, in way of thinking, So let's repeat that for that have less walk, less talk, less sleep, less eat. Can you now help me to find the 4 things that you do more? More Quran. Good. More Qiyam. More Dua. And more dhikr. Remember, so that should be your time. Spending Quran, Dua, Salah, Dhikr. So you move from one activity to the other. That's how. It make it easier for you. That's how you switch. Now you know what? Time for Salah. Alhamdulillah for Salah. Let's make Dua. Make Dua. Go back, to Dhikr. Go back, to other activities. And that's, how you should, invest on those moments. I think that's enough as an introduction for this. And if you have any questions, please feel free. Brother, he said, how about that the person is really dearer to me or a close relative that died. They are still allowed to go for a funeral? There is opinion about that. I would say in that situation, you don't want to miss it as well. You don't want to miss the janaza of first relative, for example. You are going to regret later, it's not good for your satisfaction, not good for your feeling. So in that case, you can follow the opinion that it's permissible for you. But in a normal time, I want you to take the azima, just, try to make it the hardest, the high standard for you. So in a normal situation, always try to hold on the high standard than just to go with the permissible way. So it is permissible, inshallah, according to some opinion. Yes. Okay, people of itikaf, is it allowed for them to reserve spots in a mosque, and since they are already in the mosque? No, but it's supposed to them to be in the first rows to compete because they are in the mosque. How come in the mosque and they are not in the first rows? But not to, take the right of others as well. Like said, we are having the preference in the mosque, then that's our preference, No, do not really cross the right of others, but it's your competition to be in a first row, but you have to be smart enough anyway to deal with these situations, If you're already there in a spot, and then you had to make wudu, for example, or go to the washroom, then you have more right for that spot than others, as mentioned in the hadith. So if you're already in the spot, you're already there. Now, just to be smart to book the spot and then you go. So if you're already there, but it's happened that you need to renew your wudu, then it is fine. No, 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 it's not. You cannot do that. So we have to be, يعني reasonable, not even crossing the right of others. You know what? يعني as a Muslim, you have to be sensitive, with those, issues, especially if might trigger some other people and or causing some issues. You have to be wise. Okay. Yes. No, no, no. We're not talking about this. About talking following the janazah, going outside the mosque. Yeah, the janazah, of course, if they are in the mosque, they have to. But we are talking about following the janazah, going outside. That's the point. So going outside, even for ibadah, janazah is ibadah, that's fine in case nobody will take care of it. But if there's other people take care of it, then you have other ibadah already established. Yes, brother. So in the starting, the i'tikaf said more preferably to start before the sunset because in the Islamic perspective, the day starts from the sunset and end by the next sunset. That. So the night first and then the day. So if it was announced and confirmed that night is Eid night, then after Maghrib you can end your i'tikaf. If you want to continue until Fajr and you will leave the mosque after you pray your Eid, that's fine as well. But you can end your i'tikaf the moment that it was confirmed that Eid time, like after the sunset, on the night of the Eid, then that's not night from Ramadan. So you can end your i'tikaf. And when I say minimum 24 hours. You can do 1 day, 2 days. You can do some days and stop and come back. It doesn't have to be all connected. So always when you start before Maghrib and end it after Maghrib. That's the best practice. If you started after Maghrib, it's fine as well, but you missed the best practice in there. Ishmael. Yes. No, if you go for work and other affairs, then that invalidate your i'tikaf. That's against it. That according to the Jamhur, the majority of fuqaha. According to Imam Shafi'i, it doesn't have to be 24 hours. Like, you can't stay in a mosque with that intention. But that's not the majority of scholars' opinion. Yes, sir. It's not going to invalidate your i'tikaf, being like socializing, being working on something else, not doing much of dhikr and ibadah. It's not going to invalidate your i'tikaf, but you missed the opportunity of maximizing the benefit of your i'tikaf. Same questions. She said, like, doing some online work and other things. It's the same things. It's against the nature of i'tikaf. The nature of i'tikaf to exclude yourself from all the worldly benefit and affairs and focus on ibadah. Continue working online, it's still in that mood. But again, it does not invalidate your i'tikaf being busy with some social or some other activities, but you missed the opportunity to get the maximum benefit of it. If you have to break i'tikaf, no sin. No sin, no penalty, yes. If you had to break your i'tikaf, unless at the first place, your itikaf was intended as a fulfillment of the promise of nadhr. So if somebody, he said, I'm going to do that and it must for me, and by Allah, he made nadhr, then that's different story. He has to make it another time. Allah said, وَلْيُوفُوا نُذُورَهُمْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُوفُونَ بِالنَّذْرِ. By the way, scholars said it's just like at the first place to make nadhr, to say, by Allah, I'm going to do this. Why? Because you made it obligatory on you what things that Allah never made it obligatory on you. If somebody said, you know what, if I pass that exam, I will do this and that. Yeah, that's fine. That's not haram. That's fine. But it's better not. Why is that? Because they said this is not the best way to deal with Allah. Because, you say, as if you are saying, if Allah never granted that for me, I'm not going to do it. Yes? It's better to be thankful, to use the shukr, not nadhr. If Allah granted for you something beautiful, make shukr, make sajda, pray 2 rak'ah, give sadaqah, do itikaf. That's higher in level than to say, you know what, if I pass the exam, I will slaughter a cow and distribute the meat for the sake of Allah. So if you don't, you're going to hold yourself, you're not going to do that? Yeah? So it's better not to make it hard for yourself, because sometimes it's not easy for you to fulfill. And another point, that sometimes it's not that good relation, not represent the good relation between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So no penalty if it's just a normal itikaf, unless you made it out of nadhr. Then you have to fulfill. Yes? Normally, you mean it's not in itikaf, yes? Like, if somebody, generally speaking, can I, work in a masjid, if anything's appropriate, that's fine. The mosque at the time of Sallam was the center of their life. And one time, people from Habasha, from Abyssinia, came and were playing with their sticks in the mosque. And the Prophet never told them, no, do not do that. But there are some activities, it should not be, like that Bedouin man came and went to the corner of the mosque and urinated in the mosque. Then the Prophet first, when the Sahaba rushed to him to stop him, he said, no, leave him alone. And when he done, then take a pocket of water and pour it and clean it. And then he talked to him. He said, Al-Masjidu, mosque, it's not for this. لا يصلح لهذا. Yes, and they explain. So if any activities does not really break the sanctity of the mosque, or bring in something that's not appropriate, then should not be. But normal working, like doing. It's business should not be any kind of a trade or buying and selling in a mosque. Yes, in a mosque you cannot buy and sell. Okay, and there are some activities, yes, you should stay away from it, in a mosque. So any business activities like buying and selling, that's not in the mosque. Yes. Oh, okay. So one time Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu was already in his itikaf. And a person came to him and he said, I want you to help me and intercede for me in that matter. That's called in fiqh zakatul jah. If a person has position and has status, and people respecting him, if he will pass a word about you, people, they might actually help you. You get? So it's not only recommendation, but even go in and help. Like, somebody want to get married, somebody want to get job, and he will go to him and say, you know what, I trust this person. So it goes zakat al-jah. So he came and he asked for his help. So immediately Ibn Abbas cut his i'tikaf, ended his i'tikaf, and he went with him. They told him, oh, you cut your i'tikaf for such things? He told them, I heard from my beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, by Allah, لئن أمشي في حاجة أخي خير من أن أعتكف في مسجدي هذا شهرا وفي رواية شهرين. It's better for me to go fulfill the need of my brother than to stay in my mosque for 1 month. In another narration, for 2 months. And that tells you how it's important to be in the help of others. But of course, we want to make the balance, So again, if somebody else can fulfill that need, that's good. If somebody came to you and said, you know what, I need your help, but alhamdulillah, you find good alternative for him, you call somebody or you assign somebody for that, that would be great. So the other person get help, and in the same time you continue your i'tikaf, and you get the reward because you pointed to him to somebody else. Okay? May Allah bless you all. Tahallahu alaykum. Yeah, one more question? Yes. It's fine. Let's talk, but it doesn't mean that you not talk at all. No, it's fine. As I mentioned, the hadith when Sayyidah Safiya came and talked to the Prophet and she spent quite time with him. So that's fine. Yes. Yes, that's fine. The surrounding area that's belong to the mosque, you can be there, but do not stay there. Yeah. Yes. Huh? No, you've ended before the Eid. Oh, we're gonna have one here, and we're gonna have two in BMO. So we're gonna have one in Briar here, inshallah. So you still can stay until Eid and leave after Eid if you want, because we're gonna have one Eid Salah here in the mosque. May Allah accept from all of you, and please do not forget us from your dua, and forgive our shortcoming. Ameen. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Ameen.